Hey guys, welcome back to Seller Sessions. Joe Reichsfeld is back in the hot seat. How you doing, Joe?
Good. How are you?
Good. So I'll share to the groups, but today we're going to be taking a look at the various different resources across the world in going A to Z in a lot of the countries that you've covered. You know, effectively, it's like we know where our Alibaba is for China, but what about the Czech Republic? What about France? What about various different countries? So we're going to go into that. Do you want to do a quick introduction on yourself as we get going?
Yeah,
And
sure.
we can then start to get into it.
Well, my name is Joe Reichsfeld. I own E-commerce Optimizer. I've been in this business for 20 years as a seller, business owner, consultant, all kinds of different things. I've sourced in the U.S. I've sourced in other countries. I haven't sourced in China since 2008. So I've got a little bit of experience sourcing elsewhere, a lot with made in the USA stuff and Central American stuff. But there's lots of opportunities. And what we do is we focus on helping sellers diversify, dominate their niche, and grow.
Excellent. All right, so let's get into this. So let's start with, we'll share the link later, but this is from an article that you wrote, which is quite in depth, but this is one of the sections. So why don't we start beginning with A? Let's start with Africa.
Africa actually has some really cool stuff. And Africa's changed quite a bit in the last few years. There are several trade associations now that deal with African imports. And this one actually is a US based company. So they, in some cases, will already have the product here, which is kind of nice. It's for US sellers, that's pretty convenient. But the colors, Africa is very well known for the colors of their textiles.
Yeah.
And there's several of these different import companies that are focusing specifically on the smaller companies. There's one that just works with women owners and women makers. There's a lot of different products that come out of there. A lot of jewelry, a lot of diamonds come out of Africa. It's a variety of stuff, which is the nice thing is there's not 3 million other sellers also buying from there.
Yeah. So it says here, African Imports is a US-based company that offers the largest selection anywhere of Africa and Afrocentric products at wholesale prices. They offer African clothing, jewelry, accessories, oils, soaps, personal care products, fabrics, musical instruments, and African art. So that pretty much that's covering Africa. So I'm assuming that's africaimports.com. I'm assuming.
Yes.
Okay. Arabo. Let's talk about Arabo.
Arabo. That's a fairly newer. I haven't done any business with them, but they are Middle East, Arab nations, Middle Eastern centered. It's a search engine and a business directory. So it covers multiple countries. And they're trying to centralize the different countries' exports and e-commerce through one search engine and make it a little easier. A lot of these countries and regions are very fragmented government-wise, and there's very little central way. I mean, some of these countries are really small. They could fit 5 of them in one of our states. Or that kind of thing. So they're trying to come up with different alliances between the countries to make things, move a little better.
Yeah.
Personally, when I talk to people about sourcing, something I learned a long time ago is, what do tourists, for example, what does every tourist that comes and visits England have to have before they leave England? We all have something like that around us. Where I live in the Southwest, it's Native American art, Native American jewelry. But if we have sellers from all over the world, and if you just look around where you live and you think to yourself, why do tourists go to certain places when they're here? What do they need? What is made locally that the rest of the world doesn't have? There's a ton of opportunities there. My first e-commerce business was Native American art, Native American jewelry, and I drop shipped. I doubled. I paid them more than they were getting for it here, and I doubled the money and did incredibly well. And I could go drive to see them. It was great. I see a lot of that when I talk to different people in different countries, that I consult with. I ask them questions about stuff like that, and I see lots of opportunity in the different countries. There's a lot of Middle Eastern people, selling on Amazon now. A lot of Pakistanis and people from the different countries, and everybody flocks to Alibaba when sometimes it's in your own backyard.
Yep. Times Directories, which is in Asia. Do you want to talk a little bit about that one?
So one thing a lot of people don't realize is that in the last 4 years, the cost of labor has actually gone up quite a bit in China. And while China might have they might have it down to a science in certain areas of manufacturing, there's other things that, that they don't. Like Vietnam, for example, you can get bamboo products in Vietnam, and the cost of labor is much cheaper than it is in China. So sometimes it makes sense to look at where your resources are coming from, or look at where you can get things from, versus the other things that go into it. Mexico, the labor is cheaper in Mexico than it is in China to manufacture stuff, and because of our open border with Mexico and NAFTA and all that stuff, people don't realize that there's plenty of opportunities there.
Yeah. I'm just going to say some quick hellos. Ryan gives the thumbs up. Yelchin says, hey guys, Side B is good afternoon, gents, from a wet and windy Somerset. Typical English summer. No, I've got the wind coming across the farmland across there. It's crazy. Joe says, hello, Daddy and Joe. Well, still going strong. Okay, so where are we going to go next? Brazil. Apex Brazil?
Yeah, they're fairly new to me, although I've sourced quite a bit in Central America. The thing that I find that works the best with a lot of those countries, and honestly, as a newer seller, going to a lot of these countries, it makes sense to go to an association or a sourcing agent, and learn the ropes from them. You might not use them next time, but if you're going in a country that you've never been to, or you don't have experience with this sort of thing yet, sourcing agents and agencies really pay off. And Apex Brazil is in a different language. It's in Portuguese. A lot of these countries, or a lot of these sites are in their native languages. You just got to translate it. Apex Brazil, Brazil's huge, but there's a lot of industry there. There's a lot of different things going on there, and there's a lot of different products that you can get out of there. I have a friend from Brazil, and 10 years ago, I helped him introduce some products here in the U.S. That weren't sold here, and he did really well, actually. And it was rolling papers, actually, see-through clear rolling papers that were being manufactured in Brazil, and he brought them here, and he did real well. And you never know, I mean, there's things that are made all over the place that we don't have here, and that you wouldn't know what it was if you saw it. It doesn't mean that you don't need it or you don't want it. That's our job. We're marketers. That's what we educate people and teach them what they do need. Yeah.
Okay, so we'll get to China. Everyone knows who Alibaba is, AliExpress. DH Gate, some people still use it. 1688 is quite popular for people, especially if they've got sourcing agents, or they're using it to kind of check off pricing. Talk about Doba.
Doba is explicitly drop shipping. And drop shipping is big on Shopify. Companies like Doba, they pre-vet the manufacturers and the suppliers for you, and they give you lots of opportunities to lots of choices. I personally don't believe in drop shipping with long shipping times, But there's a lot of people that do it and do really, really well. I would not do that on Amazon. Drop shipping is alive and well on Amazon. It happens every day, all day long, with vendors and Amazon themselves. But as a seller, if I was going to drop ship on Amazon, it would be somebody local that I know, that I have a really tight relationship with. I'm not going to drop ship out of country, because then you're just risking your own account.
Yeah. That makes sense. You know, it's quite funny. I was speaking to other people the other day. I've been memed on it because I always say makes sense. And now when I speak to people, I'm just realizing I keep saying the words, yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. Czech Republic, Czech trade, not checker trade like we got in the UK, but Czech trade operated by National Trade Promotional Agency, the Ministry of Industry and Trade. Head office, Czech exports directory. You will find a database searchable by product category or use the link to the search page. I'll share this link, but talk to me about the Czech Republic before we head to Estonia.
So the thing I don't like about this site, and I find that manufacturers don't like about this site, is that it's run by the government. And they, I've been told before that you know, it's just like anything else. They have their favorites, I guess, but it's a gateway. You know, it's another one of those things. That's where you start. You know, that's your starting place. You figure out you know the nuts and bolts of what's going on there through sites like that, and then take it upon yourself. There's Panjiva. There's several really good sites that you can use to find the real manufacturers of products in these countries, and we'll get to that, I'm sure. But that's, you know, you use the two, and you find this stuff, and that's how you learn how to who and how to contact people.
Yeah. Okay, let's go to Estonia. Exports. Product search does not nominate any category headings for you, so you have to enter the category that might interest you. Patience needed. It will probably be more comfortable to email the Chamber of Commerce. Have you? This is there's asked for a print copy. Print copy. That reminds me of China, when you get like these big, massive books. When you see people, they go and buy a case, and at the start of going over to China, they're going around with their wheelie, and they've got all the
books,
the hard copies in there, and then they just, like, last day, it's like, fuck that, I ain't taking it home, and then they just dump it. They get wise to it. So yeah, it always scares me when someone says, yeah, can you send me a big directory like a Yellow Pages? Talk to me a bit about Estonia. We know Egla's friend of the show. She's based in Estonia. She's probably the most successful female Amazon seller over there. I think she's just crossed the 4 or 5 million mark. So she'll know a lot about going on there. So if people got questions, I'm sure she'd be happy to answer those. What's your take?
This is another site that's run through the government.
Yes.
So it's another one of those that I'm a little hesitant with. Some of these countries have really high taxes, and it's just a paper trail kind of thing. But again, it's a start. You know, this is where you start, and you start talking to people. You know, they connect you with manufacturers, and you start talking to them, and then, you know, lo and behold, you go from one to another. Or it's every you have to start somewhere with these countries, and you either can pay a sourcing agent and sometimes pay through the nose, or you can do the research yourself. You know, and it comes down to how comfortable you are. And how much experience you have as to whether or not you're going to jump in yourself, or whether you do use a sourcing agent. There's a lot of really good, decent sourcing agents out there.
Yes. Quick hellos here. Kimberly says a good morning. Tiff's back. What's up, guys? Again, Kimberly says Joe is dropping some huge nuggets. It sounds like one of those 3-hour webinars, isn't it? Huge nuggets. Heading back to Europe, Zen Trader is a wholesale and buy network featuring EU-wide availability of consumer goods. They have offices throughout Europe and are Europe's leading platform in B2B wholesale transactions for consumer goods. So talk to me about that one.
So there's a lot of companies like Zentrada here in the U.S. as well, and unfortunately, because of COVID, they have more product than they know what to do with. Right now is a really good time to be shopping some of these wholesaler and liquidator
Yeah.
sites to pick stuff up. And this one, they're pretty reliable. I mean, I haven't purchased anything from them myself, but I do know somebody who buys a lot of product from them, who's based in the EU, and they sell. They sell a lot. They're not in any one category. It's one of those kinds of sellers that will buy anything that they get a good deal on, but it works well for them. And they sell on Amazon and eBay in the EU,
Yes.
and they're able to make money. So there's the prices. The prices must be fairly decent.
Okay. Let's go to France now. Name escapes me, but there's a big shopping platform in France. Do you remember the name of it? Can't remember it now, but there is a very large platform. Like Amazon isn't as big in France as this platform, but
Right.
when the name comes, I'll remember it. But that's a good platform there. This one here, again, a French government site, is UB or is it UBI France? Is it abbreviated down?
It's UBI France, I believe.
Yeah. Okay. A French government
Yes.
site. They have a lot to learn about making the site user friendly, but you need to persevere. You can find some outstanding products, many of which will be unique if you choose to import them. So, what's your experience with that?
Um, Not the best, tell you the truth. It's really it's pretty clunky.
Yeah.
Um, I wouldn't use that site personally, unless I was using it as a stepping stone.
Yeah. But that's the whole idea, is to show people there's life beyond Alibaba, right? And we're looking at all the different territories. So listeners who listen in different territories around the world can go localized in certain cases and not be aware of these sites. Go on, sorry.
So one of the things that, it's very difficult to be unique when you're buying your products from Alibaba.
Yeah.
The other thing people don't realize is that, it might be cheaper to have something made in China, but they might not have the resources. They might be buying the resources from somewhere else. So by the time they get that resource to China, it might be a wash. You need to look at your products. I mean, if you're just selling clothing, there's not extra parts to clothing. And you might, like the colors coming out of certain countries, the bright colors, you can't get that in other countries. And so sometimes you're doing yourself a disservice by not really understanding your product.
Yeah. Greece, export gate, Greece.
Greece.
There's stacks of these here. We can skip some of these. Let me have a look here. I mean, there's a lot going on in India. Like, we know India, Mark. Big shout out to Megla as well. You've got Trade India. You've got Gym Trade and Ethical Sourcing. I've not heard of any of those coming out of India.
Gym Trade's supposed to be fairly reliable.
Yeah.
I know a couple people that are buying stuff through them, and I know people that are talking to them right now. Ethical Sourcing is they're a sourcing agency. They also do development. So they'll take if you go to them with a product, they will have the drawings made, and help you find a suitable manufacturer. So they're more almost partners. To a sense, you pay them a lot of money, but you never know. I mean, India is one of those countries that can compete in a lot of cases with the prices that you're getting out of China. And before COVID, for people that follow Jeff Bezos and his travels, before COVID even started, he was in India giving a lot of similar interviews to what he gave about China in 2006 and 2007 when he first focused on China. He indicated that they were going to be moving a lot of manufacturing to India, and it makes sense. India is a huge market for them. I would be if I were him, I would be also, because the opportunities that India presents.
Okay, Italy, named Italy Exports, kitchenware, housewares, hardware, tools, food, and giftware.
Yeah, Greece and Italy both are really, really well known for kitchenware, china,
Yeah.
all sorts of different kitchen items. In fact, all my silverware is all handmade in China, that I've had for years. Or not China,
In Italy.
Italy. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's all blacksmithed in Italy, and I mean, they're very, very well known. I come from the restaurant business, long time ago, and we used to get a lot of product, a lot of in nicer restaurants, a lot of china, and a lot of one-off type stuff that you only see in really nice restaurants from Italy. Greece, we got not as high of quality china, but you can get really, if you sell kitchen products, and flatware and things like that, you can get really nice sets from both Italy, and Greece is going to be more cost conscious.
Okay, so Malaysia trade is another one here. Click for foreign buyers. Then you can search for products by clicking on Malaysia. Products directly in the menu, left-hand side column of the page. It's also worth looking at Malaysia Export Exhibition Centre, which is MEEC at the bottom of the menu. There are 500 permanent exhibitors at the centre.
So they are they're like a global sources wannabe.
Right.
They do a lot of trade shows. They represent a lot of the countries in the area. They focus on Malaysia, but they also cover the other countries. There's a lot of there's a lot going on in Asia. If in the next 5 years, Asia is supposed to be the e-commerce growth center for sales, and I see a lot of manufacturing moving from China, dispersing a little bit more around China. Some of it's going to Italy and the U.S. Foxconn is the largest iPhone
Manufacturer
in the world, announced last week that China, their specific words were, the days of China being the world's factory are over. And they committed to moving the majority of their manufacturing out of China and to India and the U.S. and one other Southeast Asian nation as quick as possible, which is really interesting because they're a Taiwanese-owned company.
Right.
So that could put them at odds with their government. But China has a stranglehold on solar cells, electronics, circuit boards, things like that. Foxconn moving will change that.
Gotcha. Nepal, which is Yellow Pages Nepal, which is again a business directory. What we got here?
Yeah, I really expected that site to be crap, and it's not. It's probably the best Yellow Pages directory I've ever seen. You can I found quite a bit of manufacturers through there. There's a lot of textiles that come out of Nepal, a lot of wool, cotton products, not just clothes. A lot of bulk textiles comes out of there. And the prices, I know somebody who's sourcing out of Nepal, and the prices are, they're better than China because the guy he was going to buy it from in China was going to source it from Nepal.
Yeah.
And I mean, and that just goes to show you that sometimes they're not getting these products even in China. So you're paying for that product to be shipped to China just so they can ship it to you here, and you don't even know it.
South Korea, EC21, a Korean B2B marketplace. EC21 has over 2 million member companies and 7 million products in its database. EC21 was created to connect international buyers with Korean companies. Talk to me about that.
Korea is the third largest e-commerce market in the world, I believe, third or fourth. South Korea, yeah. And there's a ton of opportunity there. The labor's a little higher, but I think that's where a lot of the electronics that's coming out of China is going to go to South Korea.
Right.
And there's several big competing e-commerce platforms in South Korea. There's Lamzada. There's several others that they're spreading outside of Korea and into Japan and the Philippines and into the other countries in the area. If I was thinking of expanding my e-commerce business into that area, I would probably start with South Korea because of the size of the market.
Taiwan, we actually covered this on the show. I'm not sure if we mentioned it. May have done. I think Christina may have mentioned it. Is Taiwan Trade. What do we know about this?
They're like global sources, but they are really they focus on China. They focus on Taiwan. They're good. I mean, there's a lot of U.S. investment in that company. So they have a lot of connections. It's easy to get product from them to the U.S. They have an outlet on the West Coast that stocks products for you as well. So you can set up, you can order products, and depending on the product, if they've got other buyers or you're buying enough in bulk, they'll send it here for you.
Yeah,
and you can buy straight out of LA.
Cool. In Turkey, we have Turkish makers. So Turkish manufacturers, a fresh approach to design and innovation is nice because it's possible to find products or styles of products that are not available elsewhere. Do you want to give us an idea of some of those kind of items?
Blankets, again, a lot of cloth type stuff, blankets, furniture, drapes, comforters, heavy jackets. There's a type, I don't know the name of it. There's a type of jacket that they make, a woven kind of a jacket that you only see coming out of Mexico normally.
Right.
Lots of bright colors coming out of Turkey. They're stable now. Will they always be stable? Who knows? I mean, that's the chance you take with a lot of these countries. And that's part of the problem that's going on with China right now. Who knows what's around the corner? Cover your ass. Whether you stay in China or you move, you source elsewhere. You should always have more than one source lined up. And you got to cover your ass.
Next up, UK, where I manufacture most of my stuff, but I don't use these sites. This is MX Wholesale and the Wholesaler. So they're more like wholesale here. So, over here, it's all about doing Google searches and going and visiting the factories. And it can be quite hard work. I know, like in the US, not everyone comes back to you. Certain things like products like bottles and stuff, minimum MOQs are like 60,000. The trick with those is to go to the manufacturers who then distribute through nominal codes for each of these products, and then go and find the bottles or the packaging that you need as close as possible, and then have 2 or 3 resources. Then that way, because a lot of people, they might manufacture in the UK, but then do their packaging and bottles and stuff they'll bring in from China, which kind of defeats the object.
I have somebody who's doing that.
Yeah, so the best solution that I found is that you ask them for their distribution catalogue of all the people that they distribute into the UK, and you understand that you don't have the MOQ, so you buy up the stocks from all these different places. So the art is that you don't ever want to go out of stock of these bottles. For me, it's bottles and tins, and so when you know that the code, which is universal for all of these products across all these different sites, you negotiate with them, and then you buy and send to your 3PL or your free issuing. So whoever's doing the bottling and packaging and stuff, that's the easiest way to get around that.
Thanks for the tip.
No worries. And then USA, there's a few. There's Makers Row, Cole Imports, and of course Thomas Net as well. Talk to me about Cole and Makers Row. I'm not really familiar with these two.
So Makers Row started helping garment makers in and around Fashion District in New York City. They've been around for at least 10 years.
Yeah.
And they've grown pretty large, actually. I have found manufacturers through there to make products, and I've also represented clients who were manufacturers who listed themselves on there. Because there's a lot of manufacturers. I think they see 10,000 manufacturers that are open to small batch products. For a manufacturer, the name of the game is keeping your machines running.
Yeah.
And for some of them, it's 24/7. So some of them are very open to picking up, the small ball contracts. The thing that sellers have a hard time with is that the American manufacturers are different than Chinese manufacturers. They don't have access sometimes to all the different types of resources. A lot of them, pick their product and they stick with it. I have one here in Phoenix who only works with steel. So if you bring him your product and it's got, molded plastic on it, he can't help you. He can do some of it, but he can't do all of it.
Yeah.
So we were on Makers Row looking for just extra work, and he works with tubular steel. So now we happen to find a vacuum company that manufactures in China, and so now he takes a piece of scrap that he was throwing away and bends it a little bit and cuts it, and every vacuum cleaner that this company makes now has a made in Phoenix, Arizona handle on it that was scrap metal. It's like, and he gets like $9 a piece for them. And, you can find there's a lot of that stuff. 2 years ago, 2015, there was a study done. 62% of American buyers said that they'd be willing to spend up to 10% more than the retail price for an item for a made in the USA sticker. Now, can you get stuff made, make any money doing that? It depends. It really depends on the product. Manufacturing has been on an incline in the U.S. for years now.
Yeah.
Labor has not, because of technology. So people just don't necessarily see that. But there's a lot of companies that, because of tariffs, started relocating. Procter Gamble, Fisher Price. They're all moving out of China. Lowe's, they're all moving their manufacturing out of China. A lot of them are relocating to Mexico. There's a whole area along the border in Texas, part of New Mexico, part of Arizona, where products freely go back and forth across the border. A car goes back and forth across the border something like 37 times during production to these factories that are along the border, and it's real interesting. It's all excluded. There's no tariffs for that stuff as it's being made, and we have the agreements, back and forth as well.
Yeah. Sorry, go on. Sorry, Joe.
Coal. I don't have any experience with them, but I am actually working with my son. Actually, he's just started selling and getting into stuff, and doing really, really well. And they are looking at coal for wholesale items. What they have been doing is they have two bots. One checks eBay for what's sells out really quick and sells for a good price. The other checks Amazon for rock bottom prices, and they're making mint buying Amazon products and turning around and selling it for twice as much on eBay.
Wow.
So they're doing a service to Amazon sellers that aren't making any money but have product, and they're making good money on it. And it's real interesting. I mean, these are kids. They're selling pools they're paying $175 for $450.
Interesting. Last one is Vietnam A to Z. We had Jim forgot his surname now, but we had Jim on a couple of weeks ago. So do a search for that episode. Do you want to talk on Vietnam A to Z?
I like Vietnam as a country to source from. It depends on the product and it depends on the resources. But I like Vietnam as a country to source from. These guys are geared towards working with Americans. This site, they're not quite a sourcing agency, but they represent Vietnam manufacturers, and they're like a dating service almost.
Right.
They're a matchmaking service, and I know that they go to great lengths to find good factories. They have extensive ties throughout Vietnam, and sometimes some of these sourcing agencies they only deal with their little handful of manufacturers. These guys don't. They'll represent anybody. I mean, they represent Vietnam, not just their little clique of manufacturers, which is good. That's a comfortable feeling.
Yeah.
Knowing that they're working for you, trying to get you the best deal, not get themselves the best cut.
Cool. Finally, we've got a question here from Kimberly. Question for Joe: Where do you recommend for candy sweets? I looked to Mexico and was not impressed.
Have you looked at locally?
I think Kimberly, from my knowledge, is based in the US.
Yeah, we have here in Phoenix. There's several candy companies that manufacture private label candy.
Right.
That I know of for restaurant chains, and they do. They're priced right. They're priced right. I would start because it's food and it's small. I would actually look locally and look in the U.S. before I'd look outside the U.S. Mexico. For Mexico, I'd look in the northern border states along Texas. There's more food that flows, food products, food manufacturing that flows through Texas than anywhere else, and Southern California as well. But I would think that would be kind of pricey.
Superb. I'm just posting the URL, so go to ecommerce-optimizer.com/product-sourcing for those who are listening back on the podcast. That gives you the full array that you've covered in this conversation, along with a load of other stuff. So we'll wrap here, Joe. What's the best way that people can reach you?
Through my website, which is ecommerce-optimizer.com, or on Facebook. I'm in a lot of the Facebook groups. So one thing I want to add to this, there's several sites, Panjiva, Import Genius, Port Examiner is free, and a real good one is that I just added is Import Yeti. You can find out who makes what products for whom through those sites. They all have access to import-export records. You can find out the big companies who makes their products, but better than that, you can source companies to make products for you in other countries. So what you do is you search these sites. Let's say you make a dog, I don't know, a dog whistle, or a dog bowl, or dog whistle. You can search these sites for dog products, and it will tell you who manufactures dog products in what countries, and it will also tell you how many shipments that they've had going out of those specific types of products. So you're not looking for the manufacturer with one shipment of dog products. You're looking for the one with 40 shipments of dog products, which then you know that they're reliable. That's a really good way to find manufacturers. That and doing trade show searches in Germany.
Sounds good. Best way to reach you?
Through my website, ecommerce-optimizer.com, on here, because I'm on here often, or in the different Facebook groups.
Sounds good. Right. Finally, guys, be back here 4 p.m. tomorrow. It's the launch of Cellepole 2020. We launched last year in 2019. We're back again. This time it's brought to you by Ferrasio. I'll give a big breakdown of what's going on tomorrow, the rules, how it works. I'll do a shared screen. So please join us back here again tomorrow. Hope you're well. Family safe. Take care. 4 p.m. BST. I'll see you then. Take care.
Thanks.